So with the Mustang, when did you purchase the Mustang? How long have you had it?
Let's see. That Mustang was bought in 2007.
Okay.
So I moved here in '05. So I'd been here a couple of years. And the funny part is it literally was at the end of my street.
Yeah.
So drive down the end of my street, it's a dead end. You can go right or left, right? Go left and two houses in. They've got a fairly, they're a couple acres.
Yeah.
And this was parked out front. And I'd driven by it a couple days and it was still parked out front. So I stopped and talked to the guy, and turned out he bought it for his daughter, and they were working on it together. So they'd done some work on it already. Had the 289 in it. It was a blue very similar to this, but it was a Chevy blue.
Oh, okay.
And so they had painted it, but it was an okay paint job, not great. And the interior was that beautiful baby blue. Oh, I hate that color. So, but the price was right.
Yeah.
And it fired up and it sounded good and everything else, and so the price was right. So I went up talking to him and said, well, let me think about it a little bit. And then I just decided, I called him up the next day and said, I'd like to buy it.
Yeah.
He goes, and by the way, I'd flown to Phoenix. And so I called him up and says, yeah, you still have it? He goes, yeah. He says, I'd like to buy it. He says, well, there's 14 people that have come to look at that thing that all want to buy it.
Yeah.
So you got to give me money now. I'm like, I'm in Phoenix.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but he says, I got to have something. He says, otherwise I'm selling it to the next person. I'm like, called my wife, said, hey, go down to the end of the street and give this guy some money.
Yeah.
He wants $500 to hold it. I'll be back in 2 days. I'll give him the rest.
Yeah.
And she's like, for what? That's for a car I just bought. She's like, I could see her eyes rolling, even though I was 1,000 miles away, right? But there's a long story there. But I've bought and sold vehicles for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And good, bad, or indifferent, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
I've never asked permission, right? So that being said, sometimes it gets you in trouble. Sometimes it doesn't get you in as much trouble, right?
Yeah.
But most of the time, I say most because not all the time, I've been able to sell and make money on them or do different things. So it hasn't been a problem, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But she just looked at me. She said, for what?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I said, just go do it.
Yeah.
So she went and gave the guy money, fired it up, came back and said, that's a pretty cool car.
Yeah.
And so that's when I really started going to car shows, meeting different people.
Gotcha.
Because I didn't want to just go into it right away. I wanted to kind of think about what I wanted to do, right?
Sure.
Put a plan together for how much is it going to cost.
Right.
All these other things, because these things they get costly to do.
Yes, they do.
And so I started thinking about it, figuring out what I want to do. And then about a year and a half into having it is when, less than that, about a year into having it is when my wife got pregnant with Connor. And so when Connor was born, it obviously changed everything.
Yeah.
So by that time, I'd put some money away. I'd bought lots of parts. My wife kept asking me, what's showing up? Because it just kept showing up at the door, right?
Yeah.
Good old UPS bringing boxes of stuff to the door. And so I piled up a lot of parts with the thought process of how I wanted to go build this thing. And then when Connor was born, everything got paused.
Yeah.
Right? It just got, life changes, right?
Sure.
And so when he was born with Down syndrome, but he also had a heart defect. So he had 3 major holes in his heart.
Okay.
And so we not only deal with now being new parents, special needs kids,
right,
but we got medical issues to worry about as well. And so the car really just sat, right, while we dealt through all this stuff and didn't touch it, didn't do anything. And that went on for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And during that time, I'm still thinking about it, but you've got other priorities, right?
Right.
So Connor had to have open heart surgery when he was 2 months old.
Wow.
Right. He had to have a couple other surgeries when he was 2 years old. So there's things that we had to get past with him. And during that process, I'm still thinking about the car, and it helped get my mind off of the stress of all this other stuff. So I got new job, new son, medical issues, right? Living in a place where no family, right? It's just us.
Yeah.
Hadn't really developed a whole lot of friends here yet. And so it was just kind of a difficult time. So the car helped me kind of get through that.